Okay, so the next thing we have on our agenda for this morning is I'm just going to give a relatively brief recap of the National Cooperator Database Workshop that we had back in August. Joao mentioned this briefly during his report, so we'll just dig into it a little bit more. So we had the event in Chicago in late August. It was almost as hot as it has been this week there, but we had a great turnout nonetheless. We had over 106 participants representing all of the collaborating sectors. And so this was a different type of meeting than what we normally have for CDCB because it wasn't just the 4 CDCB member sectors, but actually we opened it up and invited all organizations that play a role in CDCB were invited. So you can see the names up on the screen, the DRPCs, DHI organizations, breed associations, AI companies, of course CDCB staff and Agile staff were there, and then also the genomic nominators and labs. They're a group that is absolutely vital to CDCB's core services, but they're not often included in the conversations that we have. So we thought this was a great opportunity to engage that group, and they attended in force, so that tells me that they're quite interested in this as well. And the other thing I thought that was really nice was that, again, we had excellent participation from all of the sectors that were invited, and it was really neat because we had people from all levels of the organizations in attendance. So we had, of course, management level people that we see at a lot of the meetings, but we also had a lot of people in attendance that are the people that stay home and actually do the work and interact with the farmers. So I thought it was a really neat opportunity for people of all levels to interact and bring a lot of neat perspectives to the table. So the opening, we started kind of in the evening, and our opening program was what we call the sector showcase. And I think that sometimes those of us that work fairly closely with CDCB services take for granted that everybody understands things at the level that we do. But we recognize with this group, a lot of these people this was maybe some of their first actual exposure to CDCB staff and really talking about CDCB services. So we wanted to make sure that everybody in the room understood the role that others played. And so each sector basically had a representative speak, and you can see the photo and the names up on the screen. Angie Coburn from DRMS represented the dairy records processing sector. Sophie Eaglin from NAB represented the AI organizations. John Gloss from Dairy One represented the DHI sector. Jen Levacy, my colleague at Holstein USA, represented the breed associations, and Emily Piper from Zoetis represented the genomic nominators and lab sector. So basically, each person prepared a presentation on behalf of their sector, basically just explaining the data they worked with, how they interacted with CDCB, how they interacted with other sectors of the industry, so that we could all kind of go into our discussions the next day kind of with the same level of understanding of each other, and I think that was really informative for a lot of the attendees. Wednesday morning, we opened up with a lot of speakers, CDCB staff, you can see up on the screen, as well as John Cole and Amy TePlatt-Church, really just kind of digging into some of the projects that CDCB is working on to help give attendees more of a perspective on, again, a lot of the core projects that CDCB is working on that maybe they had not heard of, and so they had a chance to get updated on those things, as well as some of the challenges that CDCB faces as they work with the data in the Cooperator database. So following kind of those opening presentations, we had a lot of time for just discussion and table work. So we had a facilitator that kind of posed different questions, and within small groups around the tables that were comprised of people from different sectors, everybody was assigned a table. They discussed those topics and then reported out at the end. And from the CDCB board standpoint, we felt that it was really important that there was some real takeaways for this meeting. We recognize, again, we had over 100 people in attendance. We recognize that a lot of companies made a big investment sending their staff to this meeting, and so we didn't just want it to be a day and a half of good discussion that didn't go anywhere. So we had a real focus on, basically we closed the meeting and asked each sector to get together and say, hey, if you could make some recommendations directly to the CDCB Board of Directors based on what you learned today, what would those be? And so I'll just dig into some of those a little bit more now. Of course, collaboration and communication. If any of you had a chance to read my report yet in the annual report this morning, this was a theme of what I wrote in there. I think it's something that as an industry we can always work on. So improving communication with and among collaborators to ensure consistency in data conflict resolutions, establish feedback mechanisms for data conflict corrections, and maintain collaborator contact lists. And the other item under this heading was to form collaborative working groups with sector representation for decision making and develop an information sharing portal for sectors to exchange information. So one thing I think that was kind of neat in this vein was that I think we all recognize that CDCB could be a real conduit to help foster communication between the sectors. I know there's a lot of individuals from organizations that are communicating all the time on different things, but we felt that there could be an opportunity to foster some more intentional communication to help ensure that we're all working together as efficiently as we possibly can. On the topic of data quality and integration, prioritizing data quality over quantity in all data streams with a focus on core traits and unique data sources rather than duplicating existing data. As we're working on new trait development, we know that phenotypes are king, and trying to come up with novel sources of those phenotypes that are also able to be sourced in an economically sustainable way is very important. And then the other item under this heading was to maintain transparent processes for integrating new data sources and support for DRP sector data collection infrastructure. The next theme that kind of emerged from the comments was around producer engagement. So of course, we recognize that at the heart of what CDCB does, as well as all of the collaborating sectors, the dairy farmer is the end user of our product. They're the source of most of the data that's in the Cooperator database, and so they're really at the heart of what we do. So we want to make sure that we're always engaging directly with the dairy farmers and not just kind of speaking the echo chamber of our own organizations. So the first item was to enhance CDCB's visibility and engagement with producers by utilizing a unified collaborative message focused on pre-competitive collaboration and the value of data contributions by producers, specifically targeting non-contributing and non-processed herds. I think a lot of the collaborating organizations, we all have our own messages that we go out to the farmer with, but this discussion was really around having CDCB help us all craft a unified message. So whether they're hearing from a breed association representative, an AI company representative, the lab they're genomic testing through, we're all giving that same exact message to the farmer so that they're hearing a more consistent message from all of us. And then the second point was to expand the value of CDCB by providing accessible and user-friendly infographics and genetic trend information for producers, while also seeking additional funding sources for data initiatives. The next area that emerged was training and resources. And so 2 items here: conduct regular training sessions for both customer service and technical users. Again, just really emphasizing that we have new people coming into organizations. We have people at all levels of the organization. We want to make sure that they understand the role that CDCB plays and that they're able to have the best information about that they can, as well as provide support for research needs and seek external resources when necessary. Okay, we've just got kind of 2 more slides here. Technology and infrastructure, of course, this is always something that a lot of organizations are contending with, and there was 3 models here, or 3 items here. The first was to innovate to develop sustainable data pipelines and accommodate new technologies. The second was to consider automatic correction of genomic conflicts and simplification of female testing process. And the third, if I can make this out here, it's too small on my notes and too light on the screen. Explore expanding collaborator infrastructure with external groups for broader industry engagement. So again, data is at the core of what we do, and everybody's trying to figure out how to work with new data pipelines to get that into the system and be able to take advantage of it. And finally, the last theme that kind of emerged was just transparency around CDCB projects and services, as well as communicating a more clear roadmap to the industry. So develop a clear roadmap with priorities and timelines of CDCB projects involving sector input to enhance transparency in priority setting and deliverable timelines. So again, this is something that as the CDCB board, we're very well informed of the various projects that staff is working on. We're aware of the research that's going on, but we recognize that there's a gap in how well all of that's communicated to the industry. And the CDCB staff are doing a tremendous amount of things. There's a lot going on, and so we really just need to do a better job of telling that story to everybody and making sure that people are aware of kind of what the roadmap is for these projects, what kind of timeline we're working on, and things like that. So we actually had our every April, August, and December we have in-person CDCB board meetings as well as monthly calls, but we actually had our August meeting directly after this workshop. And so we had a good chance to kind of talk about things right away, and we have asked the CDCB staff to basically come up with an action plan around a lot of these items. So they're currently working on that, and I know that Joao and his team are actively putting that together, and we'll be seeing some more on that soon, so we're really looking forward to that. In my opinion, I think I can speak on behalf of the rest of the board of directors. We felt this event was highly successful. We were very pleased with the attendance, very pleased with the engagement of everybody that was there. And so I think this is certainly something that we haven't committed to making an annual event or anything, but I think it's certainly something that we'll consider hosting again in the future because a lot of people felt it was quite valuable.